Hey folks, welcome back to another Poem Master video. So with the anniversary back, I thought, a lot of probably new or returning players are trying to play the game. And I thought I'd, redo another one of these. Redo? Did I ever do one before? I don't even remember. But, just talk about Champion Stadium, Master Mode, and just a general, I guess, guide on how to approach it, right? So I'm not gonna fight these one by one. I'm more so just gonna talk about like how you should probably think about approaching each stage, and whether it's parameters and stuff, all that, and so that you actually have the knowledge of hopefully beating it yourself, right? With all the things that you know. So anyway, so the champion sim, just in terms of basics, right? So what is Master Mode? So you guys basically know what Champion Stadium is, right? Without Master Mode, it's just you fight 4 Elite Fours, and then after you beat the 4 Elite Fours, you fight the champion, and then there's these special parameters every single round, right? That give buffs or nerfs to both teams, right? For example, this week we have, for the first round, every time Pokemon faints, all these stats fall on the whole team, which honestly isn't really useful, doesn't really happen too much, but there are some more interesting ones. For example, the status condition one. Status conditions and other conditions deal more damage, last longer, and more likely to take effect. So for example, you can maybe take advantage of this and maybe try to toxic stall, a stage or something, right? Or for example, round 4, use special attack moves against opponents with low special defense, right? You can use special strikers on those stage, right? That'll be nice. And what you could really do well over here is maybe you could use special strikers and fight a stage that doesn't have any special attacks, so they don't get the buff, but you get all the buffs, right? So there's a lot of ways in doing this. There's also parameters where they charge your move gauge faster, right? Then you could run more move gauge heavy teams. There's also parameters that buff your attacks after, or even more after the sync. Those are very, that's probably the best parameter. It's very powerful, right? There's also some that increase the chances or doubles the chance of of additional effects from happening, right? You can maybe chain flinch a whole stage so that the opponent doesn't even use a single move, right? They're just flinch the whole time. There's a lot of these parameters that you could use and take advantage of. Honestly, this week some of the parameters aren't super interesting or good, but yeah, those are that's the basics of this challenge. Every time you beat one of these stages, you get these completion rewards. These refresh every single week, as with the Master Mode as well, right? These all refresh every single week. The battles are 3v3, right? There's no more enemies after that. There's only one row of enemies, and they're all weak to one type, right? Basically. So now let's talk about Master Mode. So first of all, just turn on Master Mode, click this, and then you turn it on, basically, right? Make sure this is on the whole time. And once you turn on Master Mode, so basically what Master Mode is you get you get options while fighting the opponents, right? And you could pick these options to make your opponent stronger, right? If you're wondering what the heck, why do you want to make the opponent stronger? So every one of these makes the opponent stronger and has a according amount of points, right? And the more points you complete the whole Master Mode with, right, the more rewards you get. These are the rewards that you get from each point. 5-star power-up tickets, this and that, right? Champion Spirit, sometimes BP rewards, right? You get these from the Master Mode, right? So yeah, you want to pick these up. There's basically a few categories here. There's attack buffs for the opponent, there's defense buffs from the opponent, there's HP buffs for the opponent, and then there's some like other stuff like limit your own move gauge, right? Total move gauge, or prevent you from statusing them, prevent you from debuffing them, decrease your own healing, right, amount. There's a lot of these, right? Let's just go over them all really fast. So physical damage reduction, special damage reduction. So this gives the opponent a shield that reduces the damage that they take, right? These are very cheap. If you're wondering what you give them a whole shield, why is this super cheap? Well, it's because you could easily go through them, right? Because if you crit the opponent, you just bypass these shields. So these are basically free 100 points. right? Then you have max sync move countdown, that's pretty self-explanatory. These are pretty self-explanatory. Plus, this one just means 10%, right? That's just 10%. No status conditions, pretty self-explanatory. Strength plus 1 is increases basically the strength of the opponents by 10 levels. So like, for example, if they were at like level 120 strength, then they turn their strength into level 130, right? Just increases all their stats by 10 levels, right? So that's HP, attack, defense, speed, special attack, special defense, all that stuff, right? Moving on. Sync buff. This is an interesting one. So for 100 points, the opponents after they sync, it increases their damage by 50%, right? So nothing happens before they sync, but after they sync, they get a 50% damage boost. This is a parameter that I actually like a lot personally. Here's extra 30% attack, defense, HP 20%, no stat reduction. These are all pretty self-explanatory. Ally healing down 50%, half ally MP. For this one, if you are, if the MP you have is only like 1 MP, then it'll still stay at 1 MP. So that's the only thing there. Power up on hit. So every time they land, their attack is successful, it increases their attacks by 10%. Right? Gradual healing gives the opponent's team gradual healing. It doesn't last for the whole battle, but it'll last pretty long. Right? Crit defense, this is the one that you generally do not want to take. Right? It gives the opponent a crit shield, so you can't crit them. Crit obviously is a 1.5 times multiplier that goes through all the opponent's defense buffs, shield and all that stuff, right? So you don't want to take crit shield generally. These are 50% attack defense. This is 20 levels of strength. That's 2 turns of max sync move countdown. This you start the battle with only 50% of your HP. This gives the opponent extra 40% HP. This gives the opponent extra 20% damage on each single hit that they do on you. And then here's an extra 30 levels. This decreases your max move gauge by 2, so you go from 6 to 4. Here's extra 60% HP, and then here's extra 60 levels, right? So here's the okay. We'll talk about the best, I guess, parameters in a bit, or at least my favorite ones to run, right? Personally, that I find are the most effective in terms of building teams. My suggestion is to build all the teams before you attempt it, right? Because what I don't like is, fighting a stage, beating it, and then or make a team, fight a stage, beat the stage, go to the next one, build another team, and then fight it. I don't like doing that. I like building all 5 teams beforehand, so because after you beat a stage, you can't use those units again for this run, right? Obviously you could reset, but you can't use those units again for this run, so you have to save your stronger supports generally for your weaker offensive stages, right? So for example, if you struggle with like ghost type, if you struggle with ghost like Agatha, ghost weak Agatha, then you should probably save your much stronger supports for Agatha, and then use maybe your weaker supports on something that you're more strong against. For example, maybe Psychic. You're strong against Psychic, then you don't need that many powerful supports against Psychic, right? So yeah, and now let's talk parameters. So there's generally 2 ways to approach it. One is hyper offense, and then one is toxic stall, right? So there's 2 ways to approach this. So the thing about hyper offense, you might be scared at first, right? If you're thinking, whoa, you're giving them so much damage, they're just gonna one-shot me. Generally, they don't do that much damage, right? If you pick up all the offensive parameters, if you have a decent enough tank, right? But the main idea of that is you don't give them any defenses, you don't give them any levels, which then gives them defenses and HP, right? Don't give them any HP. They're just at base level HP, and defense is so that they get taken out fast, right? They will do a lot of damage to you, but you will, because since they don't have too much HP, they don't have too much defense, if you have enough firepower over here, you will take them out before they could even do significant damage to your side, right? So usually the parameters you want to take is allied move gauge max -2. You want to take this for anything, this is just really, really good. It's 300 points for you. And as long as you have a team with good move gauge management, this should be fine, right? This is basically almost free 300 points. And power up on hit 2, right? Again, this might sound crazy. It's like, what? Every single time they hit us, they're gonna get an extra 20% boost, which is a lot. But again, you're trying to finish the battle in 4, 5, 6 turns, right? You're trying to generally finish the battle in 7 turns or less, right? You generally don't want to take more than 7 turns to finish the battle, right? Just to go all out offensive, just do as much damage as you can as fast as you can and take them out before they could sync you. Before they could use their sync move. That's called pre-sync clearing. You don't want the opponent to use their sync move on you, and you want to clear before they sync you, is basically the idea behind this. Since you do want to clear before sync, don't pick any of the sync countdown stuff, right? Don't pick up the strength stuff, because again, this gives the opponent defense and HP. Don't pick up HP, obviously. Pick up stuff like, you know, extra 50% attack, right? You give them the gradual heal since they don't have, since their max HP isn't like super high, the percentage that they, because the gradual heal heals on on percentage base, right? So they won't heal up that much. You'll do much more damage than they can heal, right? And then another power up on hit. Usually ally healing down, right? Again, you want to take them out as fast as possible. You don't have time for potions or whatever, right? Potions generally aren't very useful in this scenario. You can pick up no stat reduction. We'll talk about this in a bit. You could pick up attack plus 30% over here, right? Sync buff plus 5, because again, you're trying to take the opponent out before they use their sync move on you. So if you take them out before they sync, then this is nothing. This is a free 100 points. Even though it sounds scary, like extra, 50% buff after they sync. But if you take them out before they sync, they're not getting this. It's a free, free 100 points over here. You pick up the status condition if you're not statusing, extra the 50 points over here, 10% attack. And then again, these two are free as long as you have crit on your squad, right? Or on your units. So this is the basic version. There are variants, right? For example, if you run a team that you want to status the opponent, right? If you have like any status multipliers, for example, if you're running a team with paralysis, you have paralysis synergy, which increases your damage when the opponent's paralyzed, or burn synergy or stuff like that, toxic power, just passive multipliers for a damage healer that do more damage when they're status. Then you could drop this and then you could pick up this defense plus 10. I mean, it's only 10%, it's like not that big of a deal, so you could pick that one up. And if you do need to debuff their stats, for example, devastation, pecking order, those multipliers that require you to debuff the opponent, right? Hunter's instinct or whatever, power loving, so those sort of multipliers that you want to debuff the opponent with, right? Then you don't want to pick this up, obviously. And you can pick up max HP plus 2, right? Extra 20% HP. Some people like going for strength plus 1 instead. I mean, you could do that as well. I just like the extra HP a bit more, right? Because generally it's not that big of a deal, right? Difference, right? So that's one way of doing it. The other way is a more specific way to toxic stall the opponent, right? So obviously in the name, you have to use, instead of purely incredible offensive units, right? Over here you want to use more defensive units and stall the opponent out. This is generally not as good just because it takes a while, right? And the other you're done in like 7 turns or less. Over here you're taking like 20 turns. It takes a while. It is a bit safer, I guess, and a bit easier to do, but it just takes a while, right? So as usually, ally move gauge down, right? You give them HP. The philosophy behind this one is you don't give the opponent any like attack buffs, so they don't do that much damage to you. You give them a bunch of HP and then you toxic them. And since toxic or trap, then since toxic or badly poison and trap, it does damage based on the opponent's HP, right? The more HP you give them, the more the toxic eats into their HP, right? You could get like tens of thousands of damage every turn, right? From like toxic and stuff. So yeah, you want to pick up the HP parameters, more HP parameters here, right? You could do these defense, you could do crit shield. Again, you're not trying to do damage with your sync periods, you're just trying to stall, you're just trying to stall them out, you could pick up crit shield. It's fine. Unless you want to do like a hybrid of like a bit of both, and sure, you don't pick that up, but generally it's fine. You don't want to pick up gradual heal because they're going to heal a lot, because again, heals based on HP percentage as well, so you don't want to give them too much HP so that they heal like a billion HP every time they attack, right? You want ally healing because again, you want to stay alive, so you want those potions to do as much effect on you as possible, right? You can have stat reduction if you're debuffing the opponent's attack, right? For example, if you're running a Janine Ariados, right, to debuff the opponent's like attack and special attack, or like a Getsis Noble Roaring the opponent, so like they don't do as much damage to you, so it helps you survive, right? I guess you could, you know, do that. More HP buffs over here. You pick up these shields down here, right? You need to status them, so I can't pick up the no status thing. Is there any more defense? Oh, here's another defense node. And am I missing a defense node or something? No. Okay, so for last, I guess you could just pick up these two, right? I mean, it's just 10%, not the biggest deal in the world. So yeah, that's the basic, you know, gist of that. In terms of like a toxic stalling team comp, right? There's a lot of ways you could approach this, I guess. Let me find which team can I take apart. Let's rip this team apart, I guess. So yeah, there's a few ways you could approach it. First of all, you need the unit that could toxic, right? So let's find a poison. Oh, there's a badly poison. I recommend badly poison and not regular poison, cause it's better, right? So there's a few units that I could do this. BP Tangela and Survivor are really nice because not only can they badly poison the opponent, they could also trap the opponent, right? Survivor has Poison Fang that badly poisons, and Wrap that could trap. Same with Tangela. Tangela has Toxic, which is obviously much more guaranteed than Poison Fang, and then Infestation over here, right? So you Toxic trap them. Both of them are pretty good defensively as well. She has special defense buffs over here, right? She also has stuff on her grid that helps her. That helps her, right? First aid, heals, right? And so Poke Trap also helps do more damage on trap. And then Survivor over here buffs both defenses, and then also gives gradual heal for Survivor, right? Koga doesn't do as much, but he still badly poisons, right? He can dodge with like evasion over here, so there's also that, I guess. But that's obviously not as reliable. And then the other one is Singsu Leaf, who has a 50% chance of badly poisoning the opponents, right? It's an AoE. On if you use it on Razor Leaf, it's an AoE. So if you poison, if you trigger it, the whole team gets poisoned, right? And then you just go from here. The good thing about Singsu Leaf is first of all, she's decent defensive stats as well. Not decent, really good defense stats as well. She just doesn't have like defense buffs herself, but she also has like potions with Massy Healer that increases the power of these potions, right? And you also have Mega Healing that gives your whole team gradual heals as well. And then after that, you probably just want to find some defensive supports generally, right? For example, Skyla is really nice, gives defense buffs, decent stats for tanking as well. Potion with Master Healer, MP Refresh to again just heal your team. Stuff like I guess this Erica, if anyone has this, right, has really good potions here as well. Regen. Sabrina can heal, right? Dawn can heal. Dawn can also debuff the opponent's attack, right? There's a lot of options. Psyduck over here has potions, has full heal, has defense buffs. Xerneas is probably the best tank in the game, right? With Horn Leech, that keeps you alive, right? Same thing with Rubambi has Leech Life over here. Like there's just a lot of units that you could go to that has like potions, defense buffs, gradual heals, all that stuff. So yeah, I guess that's just a few ways to approach these, right? Again, team building. I'll do another team building video, I guess, for folks who are having trouble with that. So stay tuned, I guess, if you guys wanted to catch the team building video. Make sure all subscribe to get all the Paul Masters content. And my throat's kind of tired because I'm like talking for like 20 minutes straight. But anyways, Have fun, folks. Good luck, beating the champions games. If you need more help, you guys could, join our Discord. Discord link is in the description box down below, and you could ask some folks for help, or me for help, whatever, right? And if I have time, obviously. And yeah, have fun, folks, and I'll see you guys in the next one.